just me, or is everybody fake and falling apart in plain sight? This melody is keeping me awake and falling apart in the dead of night. Won't find my way, and I can't be the same as I tried to be this time when I can't find my way. I won't find my way, and I can't be the same as I tried to be this time when I can't find my way.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? And today we're bringing you a very special episode of Rising Lights, just because our guest today couldn't make it for the Thursday, so we decided to pull it forward a little bit and do it on a Tuesday. So we ain't gonna be covering the TWAB. Yeah, thanks, Kit. We ain't gonna be covering the TWAB, but we are gonna cover a couple things that have come out today. Just because we planned on covering them anyway. But today, obviously, I've got my co-host Kitsune, who is already posted in the chat that I've made a mistake, as is customary with these, and not changed the title of the stream. And we also have our good friend Sai aboard, so say hello, Sai. And Kit. Yeah. I basically went through in like the fastest possible time I could, 5 minutes before I went to go put my daughter to bed, and changed absolutely everything so that it was all correct except the title. So let me get that changed real quick. Sai, while I change this, do you want to sort of give a little bit of who you are? There we go. So, I've got your Twitch channel, like, about section open at the minute. Obviously, I see you've got your personal Twitter. Oh, fuck. I just got you to do that whole spiel and my desktop audio was muted. God damn it. Anyway,
I can go again.
Yeah, go again.
All right. Well, for those recorded listeners, my name's Sai Board. Go by Sai. You can call me Board or Topher, whatever works. I am the community lead for a clan called Team Adrift. I've been on PC for about a year and a half after switching from PlayStation. 26 years old, and I stream pretty much every day from 8 p.m. to late Eastern on twitch.tv/Sai_board, and you can find me on all my socials with the same handle.
Yeah. So, what I was about to say is, I see you've got your link to your Twitter on your Twitch, as well as Adrift. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people don't actually like make them two separate little things in this about section, and sometimes they just make it like a panel underneath, which
I feel like that's important to make
yeah,
sure that you have everything right there and people know where they can find you.
yeah. Um, one quick update before we go into Adrift, because how I met you was through Hath,
Yeah.
and the fact that you were shoutcasting the favored five Friday night fight.
Yeah.
And
That was a
obviously,
lot of fun.
now I'm a member of favored. So one thing I would like to point out to anybody who hasn't noticed, who is on Twitter and does follow favored, you may have noticed the handle changed recently from favored Destiny to favored FPS. Basically, the admins have was discussing it and made the decision that whilst yes, Destiny is a lot of us like main game, we all like where we all met and where most of us play with each other. People like Hath and Relictus are playing Apex. You've got Brian who's playing a lot of PUBG. And basically, like Supreme's playing Warzone. There's a bunch of different members of Favored that are playing other FPSs. So rather than just pigeonhole Destiny, they've sort of decided to expand it. So if anybody was wondering why that got changed, that's basically why. Um,
That makes sense.
but yeah, Adrift. What do you want to go into? Like what the outlook on it is? Like, is it a community clan? Basically, anybody can join. Is it a scrims clan, PVE? Like, what?
Yeah. So Adrift is kind of started as a place for people who couldn't or didn't find a comfortable home to exist in when in gaming or online socials. We kind of, our motto is we're finding our way. And that's one that we kind of stick with, right? Finding our way. It's, people aren't always it's everyone learns at different places. They learn about life, learn about themselves and what they want out of it. I think Adrift is a good place to hone that. It's a very opening clan and welcoming clan. It is a community clan, so it's pretty much open to anyone. If you are interested in being in the Adrift Discord, you're more than welcome to stop by my stream, or we can post links later in recorded sections. But um, we just like to vibe out with people, make sure everyone, is respectful, and it's a place for everyone. So it's kind of having that in mind and knowing that, um, we share one community, we share this space, so everyone should be inclusive. So Drift's definitely like a really awesome inclusive clan. We do sweats, we do PVE. We do a mix of everything. It's not. It's we do focus on Destiny, but we do play other games. A lot of our content creators have been messing around with solo games and let's plays and things like that. So Adrift is kind of like with Favored. It's a wide variety community clan for all walks of life, which is kind of awesome.
So yeah, I've actually seen Lysis playing like Hollow Knight and that, like especially when he did the charity stream that you sort of fudged him into. Like,
Yeah.
how did that all happen? Like, what was the
So
conversation?
we were just in I think we were just hanging out late one night. We were just, shooting stuff in PvP like we normally do. And someone made like a Dragon Ball Z reference or a Ginyu reference, and I was like, man, what I would do to get you dressed up in that costume. And he's just like, all right, well, what would you do? And I bet him that you know like that would be sick to see like in a charity stream, or just to see you get dressed up and as like an incentive. And it just kind of went like a back and forth. And me and Lysis are really close like that. He was one of the first people I met on gaming and PC. And it's kind of butted into that friendship where we want to see each other succeed, but also um see our community succeed that we're building together.
Yeah.
And I think doing fundraising, fun events like that is a great way to not only come together closer, but to bring the community closer together. Um, yeah, so just kind of spawn for our want to help each other and help a community grow in a positive manner.
So for those who don't know, basically Lysis did a charity stream where he was dressed up as one member of the Ginyu Force, and then the other one was the I forget his name. The
It was
turtle.
Nappa. He did Nappa from Dragon Ball Z, and then he did Master Roshi,
That's it, Master Roshi.
um, which was really awesome. And he did that. He did 20. It was like a 36-hour charity
Yeah,
stream
it's
where he did Hollow Knight. He did what else did he played mostly Hollow Knight. He did a little bit of Destiny, but man streamed for 36 hours and raised well over $1,000.
yeah, and I remember seeing his tweet like 24 hours, maybe a push. So I think I'm gonna do it in two 12-hour blocks, and then the day he actually like did it, I remember seeing him at 24 hours, and his title had like just changed in the time it took me to go down and go pee and come back upstairs. He changed his title from 24 hours to 36 hours. I was like, you know what? Mad respect, dude. You said you weren't sure whether you're gonna manage 24. So you're gonna do it in 12 hours. You went the 24, and then you're like, fuck it, I'm adding another 12 to it. So
I think that was half with the incentives and then half with the games that he was playing. Yeah, Nope commented in my chat. Cuphead was another game he was playing.
oh yeah, I remember
Um,
seeing that.
and I think he's definitely enjoying the new solo runs, and everyone in Adrift is kind of enjoying going off, exploring new games, and kind of seeing what else they can do with content creation on the platform.
Yeah, because one thing I will say, we'll get onto seasonal stuff with regards to Destiny in a minute. But for all the bad things that are coming out with, creators that are playing it for 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, like, and smashing through content and then going, I got nothing to do. For all that, I do feel like how it is structured, it does allow us to go off and play other things and then come back. Like, Hath even said it in Favored's Discord. He was like, I'm not gonna start the new season week 1. I'm gonna let it get in a couple weeks in, and then you're gonna have all these weekly challenges left for me to do from previous weeks as well as the week I'm in, and I'm just gonna smash it all through. Then I'm gonna take another break, go back to playing Apex, and then come back again in like another 5 weeks, do the same, and then just do that. And I think,
And I think it's a good seasonal model,
yeah,
honestly. And I think it helps people prevent burnout, knowing that the content will be there and there'll be less FOMO. Because when I signed on today and I was looking at the weekly challenges, I missed one from last week, but I can still get it done, right?
yeah,
So with that being said, I think it allows people to play at their own pace and chew how they want to chew. Because you can't demand a buffet, right? That's unreasonable.
yeah.
Bungie can't make that. It's not that kind of studio anymore. But with the amount of food, if you know like how much food you're gonna get, and then you can space that out and decide how you're gonna, if you're gonna get really full, eat it all in one night, or space it out over a couple weeks, and enjoy it in like the taste of it, over week after week. I think that's a good option for players. Now, there are still some time gated stuff, like some people can't do the entire season in one day
Mm,
anymore. But I think that's still a good thing. I think that protects people's investments when purchasing a game and getting into new content.
yeah. So quickly before I forget, because I have basically forgotten for 10 minutes. The song that we came into was "Is This Anger." Obviously, I don't know whether you've got my stream open on yours, but um, it's by a good friend of ours that we had on a couple episodes ago on the podcast called Rafe Bound CA. He and his friends are like in a band. And I actually recently got into talking to him one time when he came into my chat about what all this album is all about. And basically, it was a friend of his that's like a producer. Um, doesn't produce for the band, but he's like a producer. He turned around and says, "You'd all have a better chance of like making it, if you will, if you all went solo and did different music. Your music's not popular enough, blah, this, that, and the other." I'm essentially trying to like tear the band down, but not
Sure.
like just saying not just saying straight up the words "your shit, stop," like,
Hmm.
because obviously that way he can just go, well, I'll prove you wrong. Well, he wrote this, the entire album, and basically said, yeah, all of it is essentially, yeah, we're gonna not only are we gonna prove you wrong, but we're gonna have fun doing it, and we're going to shit on your parade. Like, but yeah, and then this is as I usually get up coming down because great opening shot of the video. It has all of the members of the band in it.
Nice.
But yeah, so then regards to this, going back to the seasonal thing, yeah, I agree completely. People can go do what they need to do on other games. You don't have to feel like you have to be on Destiny every day. I feel like a lot of people that are complaining, saying, "Oh, well, this is too slow," don't have ideas within themselves as to what else they can go and play, and so they're scared, whether it's for their content or for their if they're not a creator, like their playtime. But one thing I will say, like coming from me, was I still can play, and you can ask Kit because we did it last season. I can still play for 8 to 12 hours a day, even when I've hit pinnacle cap. Like,
Hmm.
I love this game. And one thing you said in your stream before you did the new exotic mission, which we'll get on to in a minute, um, you was in one of the battlegrounds, and you said
Hmm.
no matter what people say about like Destiny, moving and shooting just feels so great. And I think that's what keeps me like coming and playing, even when I'm
No, I
like
agree.
essentially
The
got nothing to do.
movement in Destiny is something that is you can't find in another game, even in games that are pretty adjacent to it, like say Halo, right? It doesn't feel the same. You have this freedom in movement where everything feels like an extension of your body, whether it's your gun, your abilities, the jumps, the all of it. I feel like feels like a direct extension of your power in the game, and you don't have that kind of feeling in other games. I'm excited to see maybe if Outriders can capture that. But even when I like revisited like Anthem and other games like that, it does not feel as satisfying. And I think that's what keeps people coming back. And a lot of that burnout may be attributed to not trying out new things within the game, or because I feel like there's so much to do in the game, but people get very stuck in a one track kind of mentality because they fall in love with a certain style of movement or gunplay because it is so satisfying. But if they get so attached to it and don't have that urgency to try anything else, it may feel stale. So it may be like it's so good it ends up becoming stale for people. They want to hold on to it. I compare it to compare stuff to food a lot, but the only thing I can think of is like, oh, I have this really awesome pizza that I love, and I don't want anything other than this pizza, and I'm gonna keep this pizza on my desk forever. That pizza's gonna get a little stale after a while, even though it's your favorite. You gotta switch it up. You might have a new one out there that you like.
Yeah, for sure. I think in certain instances, Destiny does actually do a lot to sort of try and uh, what's it called? Push that upon us as well. So like, um, I was a hunter main up until the middle of um Arrival. Then back on Xbox, I became a Sherpa in the clan that Kit's in, Legion of Forsaken. Uh, Great group. I actually can't wait till crossplay comes because then maybe I'll get to play with some of them again. But I'm not ever playing Destiny on Xbox again. I loaded it up to buy something with the silver I had left. Oh my god, it takes too long. um, but yeah, so then I like switched to Warlock because I was like, well, the playing on well and like having healing grenades as well as the healing rift at my disposal, it actually helps me play a certain style to where I can keep the people I'm teaching alive. So that's what I'm gonna do. And apparently, the Sherpas, because how that plans like how you become a Sherpa is you have to learn every role in every raid, that's available, and
Mhm.
then you sort of take a Sherpa, what they call a Sherpa test, which is essentially just Sherpa people through, teach them a raid, and they will be either in the party listening in, maybe taking part in the raid, but not actually giving you any, help in um teaching. Or in my case, because I streamed, it was they were watching my stream. Um, but apparently I like really uh impressed one of the Sherpas because I was running bombs on Scourge of the Past, in the final fight
Mhm.
with one of the learners, and I basically just like anytime this learner, a girl that went by the gamer tag Carissa, anytime she was like low on health, you would just see a healing grenade go flying and hit her from like a mile away. And they were like, how the like that was the feedback they gave me after the test. It was like how you managed to like hit some of those nades, how you managed to just keep an awareness of the fact she was low on health is exactly what you need to have. So yeah, we were very impressed and so on and so forth. But yeah, so that obviously changed me to basically be like, well, I need to get used to Warlock movement. So I will just main a Warlock. I've mained a Hunter since Destiny 1 beta, day one. Like, I was on Xbox. We didn't have the alpha. Thanks, Bungie.
Mhm.
But um, so I'm pretty confident in a Hunter anyway. And then so I was like, get used to a Warlock. It's the class I've hated for the longest time, but it became my main. And then on the run up to DSC, I had to use a Titan because I was the only one that was confident in my Titan ability in our team. And then so once DSC was out of the way, I was basically just doing pinnacles and stuff on my Titan. That was it. And, you know, doing the whole power grind thing until this season. This season comes, we get the new exotic chess piece. Like, I see what the Titan one's capable of after the first time it's in the rotation and people get it. And you see the clips on Twitter of Glad and Evan F and all of them just wrecking A-Track with it. Um, and so I'm like, okay, I was getting pretty stale on being a Chaos Reach main after discovering that at the beginning of last season. Like, let's go. This is a new way to play, and so I've been playing a little bit more on my Titan. But yeah, to that end, like you said, I feel like a little variation in people's playstyle, and not just getting complacent essentially is very much needed. And I
Yeah,
know
it's super important.
so. But let's get on to this quest. You were just doing it just before you joined us.
Yeah, I didn't end up finishing it, but it's beautiful. It's a new exotic quest. I haven't finished it yet.
I've yet to start
So
it.
I'm gonna jump.
Well, I
I did get to start it. I didn't get to
I went
finish it.
I
So
went to Zavala and got to the point where I can go into the ship. But
yeah, so I started the ship mission. So without spoiling it for anyone that may have not gotten into it yet, what I will say is the skybox is absolutely beautiful. I think that like once you land, you'll notice what I'm talking about right away. It floored me. It felt better than the skybox and the Deepstone Crypt um spacewalk
wow.
part. In my opinion, I also the sound team did a phenomenal job. I felt like I was playing Dead Space. It was so scary. Um, yeah, it was impressive.
Anything to add, Kit? Because I know you've done it.
I've run through the mission once, and I have to say, it feels to me less like a mission and more. It's like they sort of tried to get this exotic quest in between, like your typical mission that you would normally find on one of these things, and sort of tried to balance it between being a mission and a dungeon. Sort of with the way they've taken some of the mechanics. And some of the things you might, I don't know if you've noticed this, Si, but one or two of the things that you had to do in there were, I think, pretty easily distinguished as features that were sort of pulled from raids. So one of the things you did was the same thing you have to do in part of DSC in one of the roles.
Hmm.
And then of course you got the jump and stuff as well, which is good. I'm trying to sort of like explain it without being like, here's what you do in it and ruin it for people.
I think a good way to talk about it right now is that the mission, it offers new discoverability for the player. It is new content. It is a new space for the player to enter. It is a new gun for the player to acquire. It does not existed prior in the Destiny universe in any capacity.
Yeah, so it's not like Hawk Moon and is just a returning
no.
old favorite. It's a
Yep.
brand new thing.
The
and
way
and
the
it's
weapon works
and it's
is new.
progressing the story in a meaningful manner while also giving us new content. I think this is a really great step for Bungie going in the right direction. Hosting these new spaces instead of bringing back things like the Cosmodrome, right? I said
Which,
as a topic we're going to be getting into.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Um,
which as a great segue. Obviously we don't want to cover the mission too much because it literally came out what 5.5 hours ago.
Mhm.
Um, and so
So I'm gonna say
we'll move
what I
on
yeah,
to the Cosmodrome thing since Sai mentioned it. And basically, for anyone who doesn't know, they sort of announced this past, like, what was it, week? Was it on Twitter? When was it? Twitter
there
or
was a
Schwab?
well, but I think they mentioned it at like it sort of in passing in the twab, and it was sort of expanded on the tweet. But previously they had said they were looking to try and get, it says it here in the article, roughly Destiny 1 year 1 parity for
Yeah.
the Cosmodrome. And now they've recently come out and said that they're focusing on newer content, so the Cosmodrome as it stands is about what we're getting for now.
which I'm okay with, honestly. I mean, the Plaguelands were fun in D1, right? Um, but I feel like that's a remnant of Siva, that's remnant of the Iron Lords, and if you're not bringing all of that back and having Siva come back into the storyline, I don't see why we need it,
Yeah, I was
right?
literally about to say the same thing. If you
And
don't
if
give a story reason why Steve comes back, there's no reason to have the flavor.
and with that being said, if the trade off is getting missions like we just got as a handoff for not getting a putting time spent to remastering the Plaguelands, but we get a new secret dungeon mission that's replayable with for an exotic that has random rolls. That's dope, dude, and I'm here for it all day.
Yeah, see, I'm not bothered about like the Plaguelands. I said when they said about the Cosmodrome coming back initially, people were like, "Oh, will it be the whole Cosmodrome, including the Plaguelands? Will it just be the Destiny 1 Year 1 Plaguelands?" I was like, "I'm telling you now, it's going to be Destiny 1 Year 1. They're not going to bother with the Plaguelands. It's too much of an area to build out for essentially what is going to be um a new light patrol space. Let's face it, most people don't really use the Cosmodrome. They might use it for a couple of bounties here and there. You might use it for the lost sectors when it's in there, but for most part, it's gonna be those that are doing the new light quest and feel confident navigating around there to do it. The one thing I don't like about the whole "oh, we're not expanding it anymore" is essentially the Devil's Lair saber thing. At the moment, the areas that lead to those strikes are blocked off. They're like separate instances, way off wherever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I do feel like they should have like opened it up so you can go, all right, this is the way to the strike. Some of the
So have the strike map be available in
yeah
public patrol, like how you can go to different strike zones in public patrol.
yeah.
Yeah,
I can
I can
somewhat agree with
understand.
that,
I
but
can understand why not, but
I think what we can reference in this instance is the new Harbinger mission. right? When you go do the Harbinger mission, the waterfalls for this on the side of the EDZ are turned off, and you go a certain way. But when you're not in the Harbinger mission and you go through the EDZ through patrol, a different tunnel is open, but the waterfalls are going. So I
Yeah.
think having a specific small pathway to get there would be appropriate without spending as much dev time bringing back the entire patrol zone. Um, because again, I would rather that exist on you know in its own entity. I don't need I the strike is fine, right? Because at the end of the day, do I need to go into patrol just to explore that zone? Not really. What is it offering me for content, right? Um
That's
so
why
I
I said I
think
can understand why, but at the same time, it is going to be like thinking about somebody who like started the game last week. Let's say they, got to a point, they're playing with their friends. They got to a point where um they can do a lost sector, not lost sector, a nightfall with their friends. Just the adept version, the easy one. And last week they go into Tep, and they're like, okay, we're flying into Earth. Okay, we're in the Cosmodrome. I can see, the skybox is the same as what they recognize from the New Light mission when they started the game. Where are we? And then their friends say, oh, we're just, where you fought the spider tank. We're just off to the right hand side of there as you come out of the wall. Sort of explain to them where they are. They're like, oh, so this is blocked off. Like it can break a little bit of continuity sort of thing. But at the same time, yeah, I agree. There's nothing that it really adds other than it could confuse people as to, well, how did we get here? Like, this is quite a closed off space. We're not exactly gonna, land. Like,
I think that will have to lean on, if, and this again is up to the player, listening to how the story guides you, right? And
yeah,
the reason why certain things are available and blocked off. Because like in the Harbinger mission, they explain why the falls aren't going during it, right? And then we would assume it turns back on after we get rid of the corruption, right?
mm,
So it's not a direct storytelling, but the game, I feel like, kind of wants you to infer a little bit on what's happening. And sometimes I feel like, maybe it's too much on the player base that we have to infer, but also at the same time, I think it's kind of important that the player is actively participating and being aware in the story, how the environment tells the story.
very. Um, One thing I will say as well, the the voice lines even still saying like, oh, we're in the Devil's Lair and you're fighting House Dusk, like really does
That's true.
that
That's also true.
that really irks me. It breaks continuity. For one, they've tried to say, oh, well, strikes are a point in time, like sort of a frozen flashback type thing. Um, so if that's the case, and we're flashbacking to Destiny 1, where the devils still exist, and we're fighting them in this strike, why are we fighting House Dust, which is the response from the fallen as a race, the Eliktni. Um, they sort of clumped together in House Dusk, and then obviously later on in the story we found out about House Light and House Darkness, House Salvation. Um,
It could also be a way, kind of like in like Lord of the Rings style, to at the end reference the player back to previous houses, previous groups, so all the relevant players are on paper, right?
yeah,
Um, and again, I think it leans into a lot of uh having an understanding of the previous content, especially what's in the content vault, and then also understanding how that environment is going to tell the story, how the enemies that you are fighting may infer to something that may happen down the road. Um, I think it's important that continuity is there, but I also think on the same token that it may not, the ambiguity of what's happening in the moment in the game world lends to the mystery, lends to how it may play out. So putting all the pieces of the players on the table and kind of giving it to the players and being like, hey, we're setting up for something, right? We're not going to tell you exactly what yet, but there's all these different things that are going on, all these people in place. And I think we're starting to have all those ties be brought together. Um, it's just a matter of time at this point, is because we're starting to see that continuity build in these missions.
Yeah. But one of the things I said is like, as a veteran voice line, you could turn around and say something along the lines of, rather than going, "Oh, we're in the Devil's Lair," you can say, "Oh, look, this was the Devil's Lair. Wonder what House Dusk is trying to do with Sepik." Um, you know,
It is
he
interesting
was
because the mission
reanimated
music
and
was the same as previous um as the D1 mission, but like
Rise of
we didn't
Iron.
see we didn't see the redux on Sepix itself. So I agree, there is some continuity there issues, but my faith is in that conversation will be explored with as the new content comes out week after week. And if not, you know, we got some cool weapons out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the topic of
Strikes.
Devil's Lair and strikes and things being a bit weird, some people have had issues where the voice lines haven't been showing up for them in the Devil's Lair strike.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but Fallen Saber and Devil's Lair don't have directory points where you can just launch them on their own.
I think that kind of is specific. The reason why I think was intentional. I don't know if that is 100% an accident. Because they haven't made a statement on it, right? I think it might be an incentive to get that random drop of the strike, like adding one more layer of RNG. Now, is that welcomed or not? I guess that's really up to the player. But kind of in the same token of how if you go to one of the new exotic lost sectors and you have to, it has to be that day that one of those pieces are available, the chest, the helmet, legs, whatever. I think that's kind of in the same token that you have to get it to that strike to drop in order to have a chance at getting it. Do I think it should be a more concentrated way to farm it, like having it as a node on the directory? Yeah, 100%. But I think that might be something that they're trying out and just seeing how people respond to it with feedback, and then make a decision going forward.
Well,
See, personally,
the weapons are going to be on
feel
a weekly rotation regardless of nightfall. So
Correct.
we've got Palindrome this week. So for anyone who doesn't know, like, that's a D1 favorite. A lot of people want it, and so if you like 140 hand cannon, go and farm the hell out of Arms Dealer. But yeah, like Shadow Price being last week with Sepik. This week is Palindrome. If they put Swarm in with Saber next week, for argument's sake, and then the new strike comes and that's the Nightfall,
It sounds like that's the way it's gonna go.
then that new strike will be Shadow Price again, like, regardless.
Yeah.
They're not tied. It's not tied to the strike itself. It's tied to like the week, if you will. But yeah, like the fact that they don't have actual nodes, so people, so like, for argument's sake, our friend, mine and Kit's friend, mutual friend that we did trials with this past hand or hand pass,
Mm-hmm.
he never played D1. So when we was doing Sepik with him, trying to get like the 100k and that, he was like, I have no idea where I'm going. You guys are gonna have to like show me like this. But at the end of the strike, he was like, you know what? I see why you guys like loved this back in one. This was actually a really well designed, strike.
Yeah.
He goes, but all the way through it, I have no idea what anything is. I have no idea. Like, he was getting the voice line, the thing.
Sure.
So he was like, I have no idea who the devils are. I have no idea who this and that and the other are. Like, I don't know why we're fighting Sepiks, and that's why I like, that continuity thing, a big thing in my opinion.
I
And
agree.
then
It's hard to offer that story to new players without having that back context.
yeah, and then the same thing with like they're not having director nodes. Like, we can't just turn around to our friend Hans and go, okay, you've done, like, the last week, you've done Stepics, let's go and take Saber. Because Saber's not there. We've got to wait for it to come around in the rotation. Or be added into the playlist. Because it's not in the playlist either. Which is dumb. And it sounds like it's a bug because there's a Bungie help tweet in this article from Paul Tassi, which basically says, you know, it's an issue and they're developing a fix. Long story short. So
yeah, due to an issue where players could become blocked during the Fallen Saber Strike, it's currently unavailable. We identify the issue and are currently developing a fix. So,
and it sounds to me like maybe that's why they've put Arms Dealer on this week instead of Saber. And
that could be.
And that maybe Arms Dealer was designed for next week. They've sort of pulled it forward.
Yeah, 'cause it does.
We never got a
seem-
date on when the exotic quest would come in, did we?
No, and it does strike me a little odd that they bring it in only a week after the season starts.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm hoping that though this is a sign that they have something planned for every week, whether they have to shuffle those plans around. I think that's kind of nice. If we are getting one new thing
yeah.
a week, would be I think a really special experience for us this season. I'm so far liking the season a lot more than the previous.
I would
Yeah.
like that to be a thing. You know, if you've got something new or something worth coming back every single week, that would be great. But if it's to
Even
me, it's a question of can they keep that up through the entire season and future seasons?
Yeah, and even then, even if it's just like, oh, come in, play on reset for 2 hours, you get the new stuff done, and then it's up to you if you go and do your ritual stuff, you know, your playlist activities to get your pinnacles, powerfuls, and whatnot, and play for 10 to 15 hours for the week, or you can just play for the 2 hours, get the new stuff done, have some fun afterwards, and, you know, go back to playing whatever the hell you was playing, whether it was Apex, Warzone, Spyro, like, you know,
Sure.
whatever games, because it goes back to, I feel like this new seasonal thing, while it didn't really work last season because of the fact that last season was designed on the old 3 months it's here, then it's gone model, and then this is the first season we're actually getting where it's designed to be here for the whole year. I feel like that's why it didn't work last season, but this season it's gonna work because it's like, well, you've got those weekly challenges. Oh, like Fortnite has and Apex. If you are 2-3 weeks into the season before you actually play, you've got that 2 or 3-4 weeks of, you know, challenges you can complete. So if you're looking, you've done all the new stuff, and you're like, okay, what's next? Oh, I've got these challenges. Well, I'll go and farm them. You've got like what, 30, 40 different challenges to go and complete. Like, it
It's
adds
a good concept.
it adds to the thing, but at the same time, you're not forced to play every week, so you can like go and play other games if you want to play every week. It's on you. The earnest is on the player to do what they want to do, whether it's play other games, come back once a week and do certain things, whether it's take a break for a month, come back, do a whole bunch of shit, take a break for a month,
Yeah.
come back. The earnest is on the player, and I feel like that's the same with like stasis. A lot of people now are starting to realize you can counter stasis in certain ways, in like PvP, for instance, and so they're going, you know what? It's actually not that bad. There are those that are, you know, playing at the higher echelon of players that are seeing it more because, let's face it, you put me against someone like, I don't know, Lysis is pretty good, Expo is pretty good in favored. Like, put me against them, and me using stasis is just going to like shorten the skill gap. They're still going to fuck me over, but I'm going to have a higher chance of beating. But if you put Expo using stasis against Lysis, then 9 times out of 10, like Lysis is gonna feel like stasis is screwing because
I
the skill's there already. You don't need something that's shortening the skill gap. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna challenge that. I don't think stasis shortens the skill gap. I think it's I hate that take. I really do. I think
I only use that
stasis.
take because I see it a lot on like Twitter. So
Yeah, I don't think it's a good take. I think, it's just another element of gameplay, and if you can't combat it, then that's
I
your
am
fault, right? It's not
yeah
cheesy in a way where it's like, because it challenges your positioning, right? Like, it's just a new way of how people have to learn how to position themselves, and that they weren't used to. And if you're dying to it, it's the same fault of if you're dying to a golden gun, or if you're dying to hammers, or if you're dying to anything else, because it's knowing how that effect challenges your uh position, and that is going to change how challenge how you play the game. I mean, there's a literal direct lore quote from Shax that says stasis is here to stay, and it's up to us to either flail with it like children or learn how to control it.
mm,
That's a literal quote from Shax in the lore for one of the new season missions. And with that being said, I agree with it. It's like you can get good and learn how to combat it, because I still see the top trials streamers shitting on stasis kids if they with solar subclasses, with arc subclasses. You just have to. It's just another thing to learn, and eventually we're gonna get another subclass. It's probably gonna be poison, right? It's probably gonna act like necrotic grips and how Thorn acts, because that's was kind of their first hint at them
yeah
testing out that elemental effect. And people are going to lose their shit when that happens too. Just the same way in Forsaken, when their tether was oppressive, when arc staff was like, all of those supers were new then, and there were complaints about it. I think why people are so hell-bent on stasis right now is because we didn't get 3 new subclasses in one drop. We got one, right? We got one. I mean, 3 new elements. We got one new element, and it's the new flavor of the year, and everyone's using it, right? So we're still learning it. There's still growing pains to it. But the same way when people were frustrated with Chaos Reach when it first came out, and now it's coming back again, right? There's always going to be something to complain about, because people feel like they shouldn't die to it, which is silly, because it's a game about shooting your opponent and getting kills.
So that I don't have problems with stasis as a whole, but rather specific elements.
And
yeah me too.
there's always going to be balancing issues, right?
Yeah.
There's as a general rule of thumb. I mean, we can make the same comment about how you shouldn't get slowed in PvP, or you shouldn't get frozen. You should only get slowed, as the same comment as you can compare it to the distance celestial fire travels, or the tracking of it,
Oh
of
yeah.
how it goes around corners,
I'm
right?
I'm fair game. Like if they manage to freeze me, great. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah
That's
That's
how I
on me.
feel. That's how I feel.
But there are like the very specific things. Like for me, Duskfield. I don't have a problem with being frozen or pulled in while I'm inside the bubble. But if I'm like almost twice the radius of the bubble out, why am I being pulled straight into the center of it?
yeah
There's obviously consistencies, right? But again, we have to remember how this subclass was issued to the community, right? It was done during a pandemic. It was done what seems like on a crunch, because they had to push back the season a few months,
Yeah.
right? I think there's so much more that goes into the development of a new subclass than people realize, because it affects everything in the game. It affects PvP, it affects PvE, it affects how bosses get melted. We're seeing even now with the new Titan aspect, if you stack Titans with you can crash into a boss and kill it instantly, right? People were two manning um the third encounter in Deepstone Crypt with just the Titan super, because of how powerful it is now. So there's always going to be things to check, especially in a small studio. They don't have another 2 studios in their back pocket able to test, right? So we're holding them to the same standard as they were when they had Activision, Vicarious Visions, High Moon Studios. Now they don't have
yeah
any of that.
yeah
It's
uh,
just Bungie.
I agree with
And
you, and at the same time I agree with Kit. um I don't like dust fields pulling me from outside the dust field. uh the whole
I think it's something
slow
we have to give them time to
yeah
adjust,
the whole
right?
slow thing. Slow just feels like I can't use any of my abilities when I'm in slow, so it's like a free tether at this point. I know Titans have suppressor grenade, but I've said from day one, suppressor grenade should not be a thing. If a hunter has to use a super to get rid of my super, you should have to you shouldn't be able to use a grenade for it now that stasis is a thing.
I think it's
A
a
melee
balance though,
ability or
because
something.
like so like you can count. So I think what people have to find is adjacents in other subclasses, right? Where is the suppressor grenade for hunters? Well, it might be your tether, right, or a multi-tether. Is there a direct shutdown super for Titans? Not really. A lot of it is a movement and dealing it with brute force. So to have a specific shutdown, I think is appropriate. And yeah, you can scale up, your grenades for that, but then you're lacking in other areas where Titans may need some more help. Um, I am not one as much to harp on specific ability pain points because it's an evolving game, and at the end of the day, it's a space shooter. I don't feel the need to have. I want broken effects. I
Hmm.
one of my favorite things in the world was when Sleeper was broken as shit. Like that was so much fun. When the weekend where Prometheus Lens was dumb broken, that was fun. And I think in certain aspects those things should exist. Um,
No, I
I'm
agree,
okay.
but
I'm
I
okay
was
with staying away
using
from a competitive
I was
shooter.
using I was using state like that as an example. Same thing with slow. I think personally, like for instance, the hunters um shuriken should basically insta freeze the same as the warlock's thing does, and
But you get
you
two
should
of them,
yeah.
which
Like,
so you can
this is
instant
what I was
freeze if
about
you
to
throw
say.
both of them.
You was gonna have one, yeah.
Sure. I think
Um,
I think it but what it's doing is giving more tactility and choice
and then
for the
See,
user.
but
the
then this is
way
what I was
I
saying.
um,
Make all of the freezers the same length of time as the warlock freeze. Because right now, you play any of the stasis subclasses, you play warlock, boom, you're throwing. You literally
uh,
throwing.
I
You freeze people for 2 seconds, whereas a titan or a hunter can freeze them for 5. Like,
I but then that's where aspects come in, right? So I think it's just people are still learning builds. I don't think it's like everything should be as equalized as that, because the reason why I think, a hunter may have longer freezes on a melee is because of how Bacchus operates with it. But then on the same token, if you have the warlock ability, you can stack, say the frozen uh healing rift, and then pull out, you like, say, I don't know, an arc soul from a team. I think it's all about collaboration at the end of the day. It's
yeah, no, I can see that, but at the same time, think about it this way, right? Hunter and titan can freeze for, like I said, about 5 seconds. You have the slide for the titan and this hunter shatter dive that can shatter. Warlocks have to use their weapon. So if anything, it should be flipped.
to
Warlock should,
shatter.
yeah,
You can shatter with you can
no,
shatter with a warlock.
you have to use your weapon or your super.
So how you shatter with a warlock is you throw your super. I mean, you throw your healing rift that slows them. Use your melee that freezes them. Right?
No, the rift freezes instant.
Yeah. So how the freezing mechanic works is when you double a slow. So melee slows and the healing rift slows.
No,
So that
they
that
both
double
instant freeze.
how, so how slowing
That is why we got nerfed
how the slowing mechanic works
because we don't
in
have a
Destiny
slow.
right now is when you
We are literally
so
our only slow is if we're using Dustfield. That's it. Everything else
I don't
insta
think
freezes and it
I
lasts
don't
for
think
two
that's
seconds.
true. I don't think that's true,
It is.
because when you slow, so you throw your rift down, it slows. You can also freeze with it, because how the slow mechanic works now in Destiny is when you double two slows, you can see it with the shuriken. One instance of the slows, and then the second slow attack will double up as a freeze.
Yeah, I know.
Because what's happening is literally in lore, you're freezing the atoms. It's the same thing where you're what's it called when you're out in the outside the heat lamps going through Deep Stone Crypt. It's all related. It's freezing the elements down to its micro level. um so I'm 90, I mean, we can even go into a private match, but like 99% sure that's how it works because I was experiencing it in comp this weekend where my teammate would throw a rift down and then I'd throw a shuriken and it would freeze them because you're doubling up on 2 slows.
Rift instant freezes.
Okay.
And actually, so tell a lie. Technically, now with the new aspect that we got this season, we've got another slow. But again, it involves us using our grenade because we basically
Which
we eat our grenade, but we don't actually eat it. We throw it like the healing grenade on well, and it spawns a turret, and that freezes. That does the multiple stacking of slow like the
Yep.
shuriken.
And
But
if the opponent's frozen at that point from that turret will also shatter.
no, if the opponent's frozen, it won't even shoot.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the rift will insta freeze, the melee will insta freeze, and but we other than the where in our super where we raise our staff up and like do the whole the actual damage if you will in the super, we have no shatter in warlock, and so yeah, the whole 2 second thing kind of screws us because if I freeze someone with my melee and someone just goes, oh, I'm just gonna pour out. If I'm not quick enough, like I need to reload, for instance, that's the kill I've lost and I've wasted my ability. That's I feel like how it should be across the board.
Sure.
Plus with like the hunter and titan having the shatter abilities, the shatter dive and the slide, they can be more forgiving in that sense. You know what I mean? Where
Mhm.
they have if they weren't to get rid of slow complete, like I basically said a minute ago, get rid of the one shuriken hunter, and just make it insta freeze, then that's where that balancing would come in, sort of thing. That they've got the slow effect, but then if they insta freeze, they can shatter, whereas a warlock has to use this. And I've had it before where me and Kit have like, I think it was during one of the missions we had to do, or it might have been your brother actually, Kit, when we was running uh in Beyond Light getting space stuff. But basically, he was throwing his super. I was letting them all the enemies freeze from his super. Obviously, his super's doing damage anyway. But I'm just there spamming my shatter because there's no point me using the extra state super energy to cast my freeze if they're already frozen. And my only shatter is that super.
Going back to the pair of shuriken, as you were saying before, if you reduce that to 1 and have it instant freeze, I think, and I'm not just saying this because I play Hunter a lot, because I do. I'm not going to hide it. But I feel that having a single shuriken just slow fits more with the way hunters are portrayed. You know, get in quick, deal a bit of damage, but get out before you hit. And having them just slowed, and when you're being in slow, you know, either less able or not able to use your abilities to sort of fight back, lets you get out of the engagement quicker,
Mm,
rather than just freezing them and then going in for the shatter.
true. I like the idea though of just doing away with slow in general. The stasis dodge on Hunter, if you've got the aspect, would be probably be broken as fuck because people would just hide around corners. Dodge when you come around the corner, you're frozen, boom, you can't do nothing. But at the same time, that's where that decrease in the Thor time from like 5 seconds to 2, like the Warlock, would sort of come into play because if they're not reloaded their weapons or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also be the balance there because you could use if you're not reloaded your shotgun or whatever you're using on your hunter, you could just jump up, shatter dive, boom, enemy's dead. Like, but I don't know how Bungie would ever like do that. But I just feel like a lot of people's issues seem to be um like with stasis seem to be, oh well, I got frozen here, and it's because Tommy down the street spammed 2 shurikens around the corner.
I don't think it.
or
I don't
whatever.
think it,
So,
I don't think it ties just to that. I feel like that's a really niche complaint to blame it on two shurikens from a hunter for slowing. Um, I like I said at the beginning of the conversation. I think stasis currently is people are going to be flagged for this. I think it's pretty balanced. Um, I don't
no, I
think there's much.
agree
I don't think there's much of
to
an
an extent.
issue. I don't think there's much of an issue with it right now. Um, and we just got to trust that Bungie is looking at it, making understanding the feedback, but also not trivializing it with small complaints where I don't like how getting killed by this feels versus is this broken or not, because I think those are two different conversations.
And on the topic of bringing in feedback and actually listening to it and everything, Twitch recently. That was a rough one. Anyway, Twitch recently revealed the new face of PugChamp.
Mhm.
There.
Yeah, way down there in the dock where we are supposed to be. So it turns out we've got a Komodo hype.
Yep.
Well, PugChamp. Great. I didn't really see much use for either of them in my channel, but that might just be the type of content that I have. What are your thoughts on the new PugChamp emote?
So with so there's a for backstory for people that may not know, Komodo hype and PogChamp was kind of put into question because of the original face of PogChamp. Um, sorry, I'm hearing a little bit of echo in the background. I'm hearing myself as like a double up. That's better. Cool. Um, what with PogChamp, you know, I can hear myself again. Is that do I have a tab open or do you guys have me open somewhere? I think I'm hearing it through one of you.
I might.
Um, yeah, I think that's better. Cool. So with PogChamp, you know, and the controversy around it, it hurt the person whose face it originally was. They said some really insensitive things online, and I think it could have been an opportunity to raise the voices of people that were more oppressed. But on the same token, a conversation that was held was, well, because this is a global emote, will this be used negatively against at that person's expense and take on a different meaning, which I can understand, and that hesitancy, and not and it's not to let, you know, the people who spread this kind of hate to let them win, but it's more so to also respect those who have already gone through so much pain. So it's like, I know it's a silly it's a really serious conversation around like what seems like a silly topic. So I understand why Komodo hype is used and why it's can be more widely accepted, because it's an animal, right? You can't really attach much to that.
Yeah,
But at the same token, it could have been a really awesome opportunity to have a person of color, um, uh, a biopic person, like any of these subsects that aren't represented on Twitch, to have that voice. But again, a lot of concern was, is this going to bring more harm to those people? Are there going to be trolls online that are going to use this in a negative way or twist its connotation? Um, which kind of breaks my heart, right? Because it could have been a really cool moment, like if say like Big Cheese got it, like that would have been really awesome. But he also commented in the same token, like he was pretty disappointed with how that those conversations were held with, like, maybe say the voting and the community and the Twitch staff. I I think it's a good thing in the moment that it's a neutral, but I think there's more and better work to be done.
yeah. I personally just don't agree with the whole. Okay, we're taking one global emote and making it another global emote, but oh, Komodo hype is still in your emote slots as a global emote. We're not gonna get rid of that. So now you have two emotes. That means technically two different things by
But at
definition
the
of what
same
you type.
time, like
Like,
Komodo hype is the same thing to me. Like, what's the difference between being hype and saying pog?
bro.
Like, right? It's like,
No,
oh my
I
god,
agree.
you're hyped about, like, because pog just means you're hyped, right? Like, let's go. Like, it's like pog you, dude. Like that was the definition of it. Komodo hype was just like another way to say that on Twitch. And at the end of the day, the real conversation about it being representing the same thing or taking up a slot, I think, is less of a mood point, more though than who is the representation, what that representation means to an isolated community, and how Twitch can
Yeah,
better
that's what I'm
use its
saying though. If they got
platform for that.
now that they've, because they say that you know the community has spoken and it was voted on, and you know Modo Hype won. And so, what would make sense to me is if Twitch now came out and go, okay, now that Komodo Hype is PogChamp, and we sort of don't want to have two emotes being the exact same thing, uh, you know, not only in their meaning behind it, but their actual picture as well now. Like, we're going to do away with Komodo Hype. Komodo Hype as an emote is still going to be PogChamp because you guys voted for it too. But Komodo Hype as, if you type out Komodo Hype, is going to go, and we're going to use that slot as representation for like LBGTQ representation or whatever. Then you know, even something as simple as one of the flags, like
I think that
it will be hard, but I
I
think
understand what you're coming from, but
that's what
I
they
also
need
don't
to
want it
do.
to come out. I wouldn't want it as like a token kind of checkbox. Like, all right, now that Komodo Hype's the new PogChamp, let's throw in a flag for representation. Like, hit that check mark. I would want it to be where a person, a voice that represents a community is seen,
True.
because just as a face was previously seen for PogU, and then that face got associated with a lot of hate, right? Because of the hate that they were spreading. So, with that being said, um, if that face was someone who could spread um, that love or positivity, like say, I am Brandon TV or Zamiria, or Big Cheese, any of these, big streamers that or yeah, I can list off people for days, but it doesn't need to be another cis white person, and I don't think just throwing up a flag to say, hey, look, we're representing you is enough. I
Yeah,
think it
no,
needs
I
to be a
agree. I
person.
just
I
think
think it needs to be a person with a voice, and I think the ball might have. I don't know if it's an option now to say, all right, let's do it for Komodo Hype, because they could have done that with PogChamp, right? And the community
yeah,
chose to
true.
do an animal instead. If like, why not just leave Komodo Hype where it was, and then had that decision be made for PogU,
Yeah,
the
essentially,
most influential emote on Twitch?
yeah, essentially like leave, not even make Komodo Hype an option for Pog. That's what you're essentially saying, right? So,
Yeah, it didn't need to make that transition. It could have, like, maybe not have had Komodo Hype as an option for the community to vote on, right? It should have been
mm,
a person, right? Just like it's always been. But I feel like that was the safe route taken to maintain a global audience, which is kind of telling of how people are willing
and a
to make
lot
a
of people
stand.
just voted on Komodo Hype for the meme. To be honest,
Yeah,
I know that.
which is kind of telling, right? It's like, would you rather just support a meme or support a person who, especially during Black History Month, where that real change could have happened and real people could have been supported. So those are my kind of thoughts and takes on it.
Yeah, I agree. Just like I said, I just feel like now if they can't go back on PogChamp and Komodo Hype, they should just do away with Komodo Hype. There's no point in having the same emote essentially.
Sure.
So, but yeah, anything to add on that, Kit, or do you want to move on to the
Not really. A lot of
auto
what was
mod
already
bug?
been sort of resonates in that it does really, if you're gonna swap an emote out at this point, it does need to be a person, you know, and it's very much for representation, which is where I'm gonna go to lead on to the next topic. In that, Twitch is, according to this, the headline says Twitch is investigating automod bug that won't let creators self-identify using certain descriptors. So on our profiles, we have like a little bio section, and certain terms, like put in a specific place or put in a certain order, are being flagged by Automod.
Yeah, I'm looking at the article now, and it was a tweet by Shinoden, is a Twitch streamer who is autistic, and wanted to have that as an identifier in their bio. And it seems like it might have caught an auto mod where it's like, hey, you can't put that in there because it's Twitch is associating it with words that may be harmful or go against their terms of service.
Which I mean, to a certain degree, like trying to defend um streamers and people from it. So like, I wouldn't think any of us would want someone coming into our chat being, an asshole and going,
Yeah, be
oh
using
well, this person,
a word as a slur.
yeah, this person is like so shit. They're all like, you know what I mean? Like they're using
And
it as a slur. So I get that, but at the same time, our bios I think should be essentially free from that.
well, that's a hard thing because if you just remove all auto mod, then people can put some pretty hateful things in their bio as well.
True.
What I would like to see is kind of like a toggle window like they do for how you identify as yourself with like gender, right? If you wanted to like it in the director right now, the only way to identify like if you're an LGBTQIA stream is just that. But if you want specifically to support like but just because I put that on my stream doesn't mean I'm any of those things. It means this is a place that is safe for those people, but
Yeah.
there are many people that want to search for specifically transgendered streamers because they relate to them, or people that deal with different mental disabilities like autism or OCD or ADHD because they can relate to them and have those conversations with them. But if that was used in malice, it's hard to have those things available. So if it was an available sensitive tag, right, or column thing that you can search by, so maybe on my profile I could set
So essentially tags
uh,
for your profile rather than just the individual stream.
correct, because if I could just type anything, people could put some pretty heinous stuff. But if it was options that were available to be picked from a list and then attached as like a tag to your profile so people could search it more specifically, I think that would help. Kind of in the same way where people tag their streams like Ask Me Anything or
Yeah,
First Playthrough or Endgame Content.
I like that idea. Like I actually really like that idea.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
would that
idea.
would be an idea I would like if Twitch was to tweet out tomorrow. We're planning on doing this. Like I know, like it if you think it's a great idea. I'd be hitting that like button, finding the password for my old clan Twitter, and hitting that fucking like button again. Like that's like a great idea. I think yeah, they need to do something like that because, like you said, having a tag there to where like you, me, Kit, we can turn around and go, well, we ourselves are not part of the LBGQ like community, but
Yeah,
we
so
support those that are. Just a tag like, you know, that friendly or ally or whatever like keyword you want to put in there, Twitch. Like, go ahead.
I related to this article a lot because I recently found out I have OCD and ADHD, right? So it's trying to find someone that I can relate to on that level or have those conversations who may have experienced that for longer or knows how to navigate that. That would be a really awesome way to go searching about it. But people could also use that negatively if Automata wasn't available. So having those
yeah,
deep conversations of how, being able to
and
talk about a
that's
disability or talk about your how you identify or those very real life identifiers, I think is important for Twitch because Twitch started is one of its core platforms is just chatting, right, and live streaming, just people talking kind of like we're doing now. So I think it's important to be able to identify those communities in a respectful way and for people
Yeah.
to be able to find them as well.
Like, I'm dyslexic, and
see,
Mhm.
I think there's an important point to raise on that side of the coin as to the other one when you mentioned before with the Twitch profile tags rather than tagging the stream and stuff, is that every effort that Twitch makes to make it easy for someone with those conditions or with those particular mindsets who want to find other people of a similar mindset or with the same condition who've been maybe have had it longer and know how to deal with it a lot more, or just to find someone who they relate with. The easier it is for those people to discover, the easier it is for people who want to target those people also to discover. So
I can understand that.
by
it's
that
it's
same
it's gonna be it's gonna be a balance of just because it has to happen at the end of the day, right? That
yeah.
inclusion needs to be there, and at the end of the day, there's still gonna be shitheads in the world. So it's a matter of
And by
being
that
aware
same
that things
token,
take
that's
time
by that same
and being
token,
proactive.
yeah, by that same token, that's the reason my auto mod is how it is. Like if you come into my channel, my auto mod is literally everything is essentially allowed except I think I've got racial slurs and all that. The like the top option for it in custom um is like set to level 1. So if it's something extremely racial, the auto mod's like, okay then mate, then it's going to like get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's
I th-
not, if it's not, and it's like, you know, I would have to have it have auto mod set to like level 2, 3 before auto mod would catch it. I'm going to see it, and your ass is going to get banned so quick. You ain't going to be able to say whatever word it was you said before I ban you.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's
the
important to
earnest is
have,
on the streamer as well. I feel like not just auto
yeah.
mod.
Oh,
So
100%. It's
I can
important to
understand
have
with
the
bigger
streamer be
communities though.
aware, have your mods be aware. I think the big takeaway from this is that there are people that are out there that want to be able to find other communities, but we also have to be able to protect those communities with the technology at play and understanding that ambiguity will happen in this. There will be mistakes.
Yeah.
And the real tell of supporting those communities is how fast you act on those mistakes, i.e., being Streamlabs or OBS or Twitch, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Like the same thing. I said this to Kit, I think last week when we had DJ on. Or it might have been just like in like one of our average streams when we were playing together. Um, Kit is a mod in my channel. He's also editor because he grabs the audio from these podcasts and puts them up on the audio only platforms like TuneIn, Google, and Spotify. So Spotify's not live yet for some.
It's a bit.
Basically, so obviously him having the editor privileges, I was just like, well, I might as well make him a mod as well. So boom, there you go. Um, I said to Kit, I goes, if you're ever in my chat alongside Karma, which is my cousin from Favored, for anybody who didn't, um, he, if anybody comes in causing a scene and saying things he knows I'm just going to ban them, I won't even have to say anything, and Karma's banned them. He won't time them
Mhm.
out and give them a warning. He will just straight up ban them. Because he knows the way I run my chat is um like no part, what's the word? No bars hold essentially. Like, so you come in being a dickhead, don't need you part of my community, get the fuck out. Like, ban, bye, see you
Mhm.
later, off you go. But if someone comes in and it can, like, they say a certain thing that could be construed as offensive, but it's not used in an offensive way, then that's where Karma will do what my friend Tash will do and just time them out. And then they come back in and it's like, oh, why did I get timed out? Then he'll explain it in the chat, or if I've seen it, obviously I'll explain it in voice in stream. But then it's like, if you do it again and go, oh well, what's the problem with, and then use, I don't know, the N word for argument's sake, like, then yeah, boom, straight up banned. I don't need you. Get out of here. Like, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? I want to try and be as inclusive as possible, but at the same time, if you are going to be an ass, we don't need you here. You know
Nope.
what I mean? So the same thing, I think, with regards to this, people. So this streamer, was it Shinodin? Um, speaks to their mods. Maybe if the mods can't be there all the time, then I don't know this person. They could have like a pretty big community or whatever, but um, just speak to like your mods and just say, listen, I'm going to make this a thing. Like, if somebody uses it to try and harm me or my mental health in some regard, like calling me names or whatever, then just straight up ban them. Like, don't give them an
Yep.
opportunity to come back. Just straight up gone. yes, people can make another account, but verified email setting is a thing. Like we have the tools, and yes, I can understand with bigger communities, but then bigger communities usually have more mods. So, and 9 times out of 10, like for argument's sake, I go into or Kit goes into Katie Cat's chat. Our names are known because people know us within the chat. And Katie will often turn around and be, "Oh, Intrepidus, how are you?" Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if I went in like brand new and said some hateful things because she's an LBG, I always, mix up the letters. She's trans, right? So if I went in and said some like fucked up shit, I got like straight up banned, and then made a new account, like did the same thing and just straight banned. Like eventually you're gonna get bored unless you're, complete ass. And then you're just gonna go, oh, okay, well, I'll use the same account I've just used to like get banned 6 times in that chat. I will go and do someone else. Like
Mm-hmm.
if there's people there essentially in Katie's chat where Katie doesn't have to do
Yeah.
anything. So that I think the earnest isn't just on Twitch with regards to things like this, going straight up blanket ban on certain words, but also on like the streamer, the mods within that community. You know what I mean?
You look death in his beady eyes and you spat in them. You fiend.
Hey, we just got
Okay.
raided by Baggy. What's going on, Baggy? How's it going? Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Rising Light. I want to have Baggy on here at some point, so
Okay.
we're about, what would you say, Kit? About halfway through. Got like 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, a couple more things.
Yeah, I definitely want to finish up our conversation going on in like an hour and a half.
Yeah. So yeah, like I just honestly think to summarize, essentially, it is not just on Twitch to just blanket ban certain words. It is on us and our mods, like, and the community as a whole, to
It's
sort
a
of
community effort to
yeah.
be able to give that feedback, to understand where those protections need to be in place, but also to understand, have those mods available, and that's what those roles are for in different communities.
Yeah. And there's the other thing. What the point I was getting at, even with Kate, is if I wasn't to like get straight up banned for saying some fucked up shit, like I know, because obviously I'm a member of that community, if someone was to come into that community and say some fucked up shit, there's going to be, at any given point, there's 40 to 100 people in Katie Cat's chat, right? So there's going to be at least 20 or 30 of us that will just jump on that person and start ripping them a new arsehole with words. Like, just because they've said some fucked up shit. And then, obviously, Katie Cat's, like, quite a tough cookie anyway, so she's going to rip you a new one as well before one of the mods just goes, out of here. So, but yeah, I think it's sort of the community that you garner the mods and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we'll move on to Safe Harbor in the spotlight.
Yeah, we can move on to that one next, and then finish up with the other one. Yeah, that works. Just need to scroll to the right place for this one. So Safe Harbor in the spotlight. So it's been happening across the world in like the UK, the US, Europe, and stuff. But this particular article was just because the UK's Parliament was doing a streaming inquiry recently, and they were looking at how music is used with live performances,
Right.
which is sort of in our discussion around Twitch and stuff. So a lot of this article is mostly mentioned around YouTube because that's who they were talking to at the time. They were talking to, I think they had YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TikTok, and Twitch that they were looking at. And basically, what a safe harbor is if they've got a piece of content on the page, it's usually user generated. And because of that, they can't guarantee the exact content of every piece because they're not the ones making it. So the idea of a safe harbor is that if there's some infringing content somewhere and a complaint is made, they'll take it down. And that company isn't the one responsible for the content that's on there. It's not them that gets sued if something goes wrong, basically.
It's the idea of that, like, hey, I'm going, say I'm a React Andy on Twitch, and I'm just, a reaction streamer. I'm going through clips like, like say maybe like Tim the Tatman does in the beginning of his streams. People like donate money, they look at a clip. They may not know if there is copyrighted content in there, like say on a TikTok or something like that. And and my understanding of the article is that these internet companies are essentially saying, hey, if we get a complaint or if there are complaints issued to you for reviewing that content because you're unaware of it, it's not on the fault of the streamer or the user, and then the content will just be taken down by said company. Kind of like how it was done in the past on Twitch, where if something was flagged, the VOD would just be muted, and nothing would happen of it.
Yeah. So they're sort of like they were looking at how these companies approach when they get a response, when they get a takedown request, or when they have requests to be like, okay, can you just be on the lookout for our content in these places? Which is why you've got like the automatic muting and stuff. Before you even get into like any DMCA takedown stuff, they have things in place to be like, okay, you're not allowed to use that, so we'll just mute it. That way, the copy that we have on our site isn't using that, we're covered. But the thing that I found particularly amusing about this article, given that recently quite a few people have had issues with Twitch, not anything that Twitch have done in particular, but the stability of Twitch, is that this second to last paragraph at the end here is that MPs are meant to be questioning Twitch's general counsel on Wednesday, but presumably because of some technical problems, he wasn't actually able to speak during the hearing.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with it.
What were they questioning him on? Like, DMCA sort of thing? Or?
So yes, it is that sort of thing. So they're looking at how the different companies like YouTube and stuff approach music licensing. Where it's required, what they do when things aren't licensed. Because they were looking, especially with YouTube, because they have such a lot, like the entirety of YouTube is just user-generated content. So how do they handle micro-licensing agreements? Because they have them. So they're looking at how are they handled, what can we do to like protect certain spaces and make sure that these services aren't
essentially like a way for people to get
essentially
in
of piracy.
Because and that, and two, like if I don't think a lot, because people aren't out here like it's on the Pirate Bay, right? Like obviously people could be like, I could just start streaming new season of Attack on Titan as like a watch party kind of thing, but I think it's more so to protect people that are browsing the internet, entertaining their friends or their communities, and then or live streaming, even walking, because people are getting flagged for live streaming in the street, and then a bar on that street was playing a song, and then they're getting flagged for a DMCA.
Wow.
Right. So I think this is helping that safe harbor that like you can go on these platforms and not have to worry about a third party interference causing you to get a takedown or a DMCA. And now having, and that with being with YouTube is a huge first step. And if Twitch is brought into that conversation, it could mean not just that if we're in Europe, but across the world.
How about with YouTube, you have, even when you have like the monetary opportunity with YouTube, you have the option to like turn that off.
Mm-hmm. And it
So you
automatically
wanna
gets turned off if you upload copyright content too,
Yeah.
which is a nice way to go about it. Like, so you can still, because it's the idea of you're reappropriating that content to make new content, right? And so you see that in art all the time. Appropriation is a thing that's been in, the world forever. It's how we build our culture, humanity's culture. So with that being said, it's hard to make creative content without referencing other content. And I think that's where people are trying to splice out without, cutting out from someone's paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
Like-
saying. Would you, Sai and
Mhm.
Kit, my question would be, would you, if you wanted to like one day a week, like Kit, you play Os, right? Or Osu, or however you want to pronounce it. One day a week, would you, if you wanted to play copyrighted music on stream,
Mhm.
would you opt out of that stream being monetized?
That's a hard.
If the
That's a hard way
option was
to.
there,
Is that so is it just for the duration of that stream, no ads, no
There's a
bits,
there's a
Because
lot of
then-
questions for that because like the stream can't be monetized, but can you still get gifted subs? Can you still receive tips through your PayPal while we're promoting the stream? I think because there's so many avenues to
Yeah, I
market
mean-
yourself into taking revenue, it would be a hard thing to check on or off.
yeah, I get that, but that's what I'm saying. If there was an option for you to basically just turn around and go, yeah, nothing that you do like as a viewer will be affecting me in any monetary way, but I'm playing, I don't know, Kill Switch Engage the entire time I'm streaming. I'm playing PvP or whatever. Like,
Well, as a content creator, obviously one of the things is obviously, trying to make some money off of it, trying to, make a career out of it, wanting to pursue it full time. That's a lot of wants for a lot of people. It's not a lot wants for all people. Some people just want to turn on their stream and game and hang out with their community. So if that was an option for people, I think people would go for it. Um, I would be very curious to see what parts of monetization it would gate and what it would keep. Um, for me personally, I listen to DMCA protected music on my stream all the time.
Same.
It hasn't really affected me because I'm a smaller streamer, and I know some people have workarounds where you can have that not go through the end VOD as well. So there's a lot of different conversations to think about and a lot of different variables. But on a blanket statement for your question, like would I opt in for maybe would I if I wanted to stream a game like Clone Hero or Osu where there's copyrighted music, would I opt for that? I don't know. Maybe. I have a hard time
'Cause the way I
making those
was
definitive decisions because like there's streamers that do like live drum covers, right? And they'll just play, and it's not even like a Clone Hero game. It's them literally just streaming them playing music, and they're playing over it and doing remixes and stuff, and they can't do that anymore. So it's hard because I would want to support a community in those decisions. And if it came push to shove, where I'd get put off the platform for not opting into it, I would probably just play on copyright free music at the end of the day.
yeah. But the way I was
Because
thinking
at
of
the
it
end of
is
the
like
day, you still need that monetization.
in some sort of way, like for instance, Kit, with playing it on typically playing Osu on a Sunday.
Mhm.
You playing the copyrighted song, the VOD gets muted or whatever. If you opted for the demonetization of that stream, like you turn around and says, okay, I'm prepared to not make any money from this, but you was basically constantly just focused on like bringing new people in, getting to know you as a streamer, so that then they may come back for a stream where they can donate subs, donate money, like whatever it is they want to do to support you. Like, I feel like it would garner some like organic relationship between somebody who came in on you playing us and getting to know you rather than, oh, this is you stream. Like, you know what I mean?
See, with that specific scenario, I don't think I would. I think I'd probably continue doing sort of like the what I'm doing right now in the just not having a VOD for that stream, so that if, especially because not just because of the music and stuff, but one of the things. Sorry about the background. One of the things that I find, especially with like with the cheer and subs and stuff and tips, is that part of it is for appreciation from people, like, hey, good job, I'm going to support you. And the other part of it is that like it's a way to prompt interaction, which is best done live anyway.
True.
So I wouldn't really care about not having a VOD at all for that stream, rather than just having it muted. If it were the case that having too many of them muted would lead to further action and stuff like that, which could potentially be a thing. I'm not going to say it won't be. It might not be. because I don't have quite as many people viewing and stuff. It's neither here nor there for yet. But I'd rather be able to say, with the back catalogue that I've got from my previous streams, like even as I'm growing as a content creator, I'd rather be able to keep that for sort of like legacy purposes, for like just going, okay, all of this I've got that I can use, I can sort of reference.
Here's the
and stuff.
thing: if by keeping your like, I think it's hard to make those concrete yes, would you do this, yes or no questions, because I could say nah, keep it up, but before the gets taken down for monetization or whatever, I can just download the VOD, right? There's so many things and so many variables in play. I don't think until we have a definitive conversation from Twitch we can kind of make those yeses or nos, because we won't
Yeah,
know what we're going to do in the moment until we get there.
By the same vein, obviously, if you've got, especially if you're using the tools like in OBS Studio, and I don't know if it's in Streamlabs and stuff yet, where like obviously you've got different channels for your audio, and obviously your music doesn't get through to the VOD, right? If you're using that, or even if you're not using that, and you say, okay, well, even before it's taken off or taken down completely or removed from monetization or whatever, download the VOD. There are ways where you can just have a copy of it recording as you stream with
Yeah.
these tools that we use. So if and particularly if you set it up right, which I'll admit is pretty hard to do, but you can have all of
Your audio
on
separated.
the channel, yeah. So then if you go into whatever editing program you want, you've got them all separate, you can level them all out as you need, and you can mute things if you need them muted.
Well, speaking of things Twitch is doing, you know what I did there, Kit?
Yes, I did see what you did there. I'm glad you did, because I was worrying how I was going to pull that off.
Twitch gave one of the Destiny creators that's been playing a lot of Apex recently a great birthday present when on his birthday he discovered that they finally added Twitch servers to India. And that Twitch streamer is, for anybody who doesn't know, is King Allen, who is a funny dude. So if go and check him out if you don't already. But yeah, long story short, there's a tweet here from him. They apparently have added 2 servers, one to Chennai, one to Mumbai. And it's something that he has been campaigning for, not only on his channel on Twitch, but then also on Twitter. And a lot of like streamer community, not only his community and the Destiny community, but the community as a whole, like, because other Indian streamers have sort of gravitated towards this and sort of latched onto it and gone, yeah, what this guy is saying is actually, how we all should be, and sort of promote it on their own channels and avenues, social media and stuff like that. So I was saying, like, a lot of the time whenever he tweeted out, like, we still don't have servers in India. It's like, well, how can Twitch say that they're a worldwide, like, supportive company if, in certain countries of the world they don't have the things that you need, let's face it, to be, successful, if you will, because that would be like me and Kit in the UK connect to a server in like Norway. Like, it's 1,000 miles away. Like, we need one closer to home. Luckily, obviously, UK being a major country, if you will, kind of like the US, Australia, and stuff, we have servers. There's never been a thing where we have ever had to struggle for a server. India's not obviously in that same vein in regards to Twitch, but now Twitch is making moves because obviously my guess is they've looked at number statistics and gone, oh, there's a lot of streamers that stream from India that are connecting to this server, that server, or whatever in surrounding countries. But there's a lot of viewers viewing from from India that aren't having a great viewing experience because the Indian streamer that they are watching has got like a bad connection due to server ping with regards to, streaming their gameplay or whatever to server and then the ping back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I personally, and this is where I wanted to sort of like leave it off essentially with, I personally think Twitch needs to do more of this if there's any other countries that are lacking. I don't know, in relation to India, whether 2 servers is enough in these 2 cities.
I think it's a conversation of listening to the community, and having that transparency. I think um, it should be available to, say like, hey, there should be there should be like a section or availability for, um, like direct feedback, right? Or even for content creators, like at the end of the year, like, how was your roundup on Twitch? What do you want to see us change or do in a community spotlight? It shouldn't take stamping your feet, campaigning for something that should have been there from the beginning,
Yeah.
or should have been able to give direct feedback to, right? There's no section for direct feedback on these experiences. And I think, treating your community, when I say your community, Twitch's community, right? Everyone that signs on, whether it's a streamer, whether it's an audience member, what have you, their opinions and experience should be valued, and having and they're doing it, right? They have the Twitch town halls and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of as messy as, working for a Fortune 5,000 company and trying to get your one word into that vastness, right? It's not going to happen. If there was an actual form or a portal that you could submit, um your thoughts, your feelings to, and then have it maybe upvoted by communities,
Yeah.
right? I think that would be a lot more effective, because instead of having to do, change.org campaigns or X amount of retweets on Twitter, it should, or how we deliver feedback, to those that need to see it, shouldn't be done through GoFundMe campaigns and things like that. There should be a forum for that to already exist, for that relationship to be prosperous, right? So if I was able to go in at the end of every year, December or early January, and say, hey, this is along with my Twitch wrap up, let me, like, thank you for giving me my Twitch wrap up, who I spent time with, let me give you guys feedback from my experience. I felt like, there should have been, now I'm speaking you kind of through King Allen. I think that servers need to exist for India. I'm currently connecting here, and then if that was posted, imagine then you could go on to Twitch and there was a section for community feedback, right? Or a community portal where you can then go in and see, oh, this person's idea, maybe, like say servers for an example, or maybe there was a new feature for multi streaming, like me and Hath were running into, where they want everyone to be on their API, and that's why third-party sites like multi-Twitch isn't working anymore, because they want everyone to be there. Well,
Yeah.
that's a feature a lot of the community loves and uses. Yeah, it's not on Twitch, so maybe if we could voice that, hey, we want this, and get that upvoted by a community, it doesn't even have to be Destiny community, because there's so many communities on Twitch, everyone would see that, right? Just like in the same way now, if I go onto the browse tab, I can go into different partners on Twitch. I can look at music on Twitch, jobs on Twitch. Why isn't there a community portal for feedback where I can upvote it like it's on Reddit? Because then, people in a cooking community may have the same wants as people in the Destiny community, or people that in speedrunning community. I think understanding it as a platform with subsects and linking those subsects through community conversation is needed, and that forum doesn't exist yet. And this is a perfect example of why it needs to exist, because things like servers weren't available in India.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Same thing with like certain features that we might come up with an idea of, and we can turn around and go, okay, we have this idea of, running this alongside this, which is this a possibility? It's not only just of, you know, here's an idea that I've had, do it, Twitch. It's is this a possibility? Then Twitch could go, okay, you know what? Stay tuned to Twitter, and we will announce, certain things that we're doing, and other things in a sense of like, if a suggestion is it possible? Just
I don't
an
even think it
argument.
should be a conversation of if it's possible, because at the end of the day, we can see so many things are possible in the world, right? It's just the
Yeah.
amount of
No, I was thinking.
who wants it, and how much money do we have to make it happen, right? So if we have a forum where the community has the floor to be able to upvote what certain people what people want to bring, um, then I think have it, because then you don't have to see is it possible. It's like, hey, Twitch, this is what the fucking community wants, right? Now make it happen. These are the top 5 things. If Twitch came out today and like, here's a forum for community upvoting, we're gonna take the top 5 things each year and implement them to our platform to make a more inclusive and better community, you know those things are gonna blow the bullshit out of the water too. All the trolls and things like that, because when real conversation hits and that shit matters, people come swinging. And we've seen that on Twitch when it comes to community fundraising, when it comes to support for other countries and groups of people. I think if the power was given to the people to make that happen, um, it would be seen with force.
Yeah. No, but I was saying, like, if somebody had the idea of, oh, I don't know, using the speedrunning community that mentioned, and then sort of carrying that with the casting thing, the problem he was running into with casting. if if they did like a whole, is this possible, which in a sense of the speedrunning community could go, is it possible for me to have a um a rerun running as part of my broadcast without me having to download it, add it into my scenes and all this that. So can I like maybe put it as an option so that people can see both my rerun of me speedrunning this particular level in 20 minutes and then my actual live broadcast as to I'm trying to go for under 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's again, the core principle we can kind of talk about here is that um, it shouldn't be a conversation of if I can do something. Hey, Twitch, can we do this? Because then that gives the ball in their court to say no, even if it's not something they can do, because they may want to shut it down. I think giving a place to say this is what we want, this is what
Yeah,
we are
true.
asking for, because that's what Alan had to do, right? He wasn't saying is it possible, because they would have been able to think about it and be like, maybe, because that's taking the power away from the person, saying this is what we want and this is what we need, or else, because it's the right thing to do, is the better conversation. Because at the end of the day, servers were needed in India, and it probably needs more than just 2, because right now I can go on my Streamlabs and connect to over 45 different servers in the US alone. And India's population out plunges the US's by a lot. So it's not about whether we want it or if it can, or whether it's possible. It's a matter of what a community needs and what's for the better good of the community. And I think that's what was a win and a success for Alan, and definitely made his birthday. And it's kind of seen by that feedback and hype around that, because everyone knew it was needed. It wasn't just
I think actually on this tweet I responded with, yeah, look, Twitch just gave Alan an awesome birthday present, and he responded with, they really did.
yeah, and it's not just a birthday present for Alan. Granted, it happened on his birthday, and that's awesome. But
Yeah.
it's something
It's
that's
something
better
that
for
needed.
the community at whole, right? And that's something that needs to be said. And it shouldn't just be done for a check mark either. Like what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
checking off a box, right? This should be an ongoing conversation of what needs to happen to make streaming as a whole, outreach, conservation through um, community fundraising, needs to be accessible to everyone and not just the elite few who can spend money on it.
Yeah. So one last quick thing before we get you to do a little bit of a I know you did a small one at the beginning, but like we got a one or two questions that I've hit. I'll let you, because me and Sai have done most of the talking. We'll let you ask those. You know which ones I'm talking about. The one last thing before we do that is, on that same vein, there's certain things I feel like Twitch needs to implement, in a sense of, like, I noticed, because I've got your chat open as well, Sai, that you, like me, have, and Kit as well, have the pronouns. I think that needs to just be integrated into Twitch's chat anyway, because
Yeah.
I don't think it's like it's viewable. I don't see it on my name in my chat on OBS. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so
It
I
needs to be
already
integrated more.
know
Well,
the
that's
people that
in.
the people that are in my chat. I already know, like, mostly whether they're male, female, or whatever they identify as. But at the same time, I don't want someone, like, I know a member of the Adrift. Bink, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't like, is they.
Their pronouns are they them, correct?
Yeah. So I wouldn't want them coming into my chat, for argument's sake, and going, "Oh, hi," and me knowing Binks but not knowing their pronouns, and going, "Oh, how are you?" Like, and then talking about them and saying she or he, like, you know what I mean, getting confused, because I personally would feel like that is me doing injustice to them. So I think Twitch needs to implement that as a, like, blanket across the board thing for everybody, and
I
then
think
people can have the
those.
option to put them in with
Well,
regards
and that
to.
kind of that kind of leans back on having a forum for feedback, right? Because
Yeah.
those kind of implements are done by third-party communities because it wasn't those innovations weren't set in place already, which is good, right? We want people
Yeah.
to innovate and implement new conversations, but also once those things are implemented, I think it is important for the Twitch as the greater whole to be aware of what their communities are asking for and to act with swiftness on that. And that's kind of the same, all kind of falls back into that idea of like having a forum for feedback on what Twitch as a community needs from them, right? Not what we want, not what we're asking if it's possible. This is what we need to continue having a positive relationship between a company and a community as a whole, right? We need inclusivity. We need to be able to identify our diversity, and we need to be able to have a representation matter without asking please, because everyone's representation matters.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You know, in your chat settings, just have it as an option of turn pronouns on. Essentially, what I'm saying. So I
Yeah,
could
yeah,
do
and
it in my stream chat on OBS. You could do it with Streamlabs. You know, because, like I said, it does feel kind of awkward sometimes when I turn around and say, because I blanket use words like dude,
mhm,
which, yeah, I realize I shouldn't, but it's just sometimes how I speak. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and sometimes it's hard for people to understand that. So if I could see, like, if I'm speaking to someone and go, "Yo, dude, this you just missed the funniest thing," and then they go, "Well, actually, I'm, they them," or, and
I
if they
think
don't have
it's
to tell me, and I can just see it from their interaction chat, it's just gonna um stop a lot of the um what's the word, misunderstanding.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen actively, in order to make those changes be more normalized, right? Because the more people that offer their pronouns, the more people that use gender neutral terms like partner and things like that, makes it so queerness is not a neon sign in the middle of the night, right? It's
Yeah.
normalized just as being um anyone else in the world, right? And I think that is really important for everyone as an ally, uh to recognize as well, that normalizing offering your pronouns, offering gender neutral conversations, and taking feedback when it's necessary, adjusting the language and moving forward, are just all appropriate steps to being an ally, to making your community inclusive, while also pushing for change in areas where it's needed.
Yeah. And that's like one thing that I trying to do, but like I say, sometimes just generally part of my like vocabulary, and I've seen other people do it as well. It's like, "Hey, dude, how are you?" Sort of thing. And
And I think that to a lot of people, like, "Hey, dude, how are you?" is okay, because a lot of people, I say "dude" to a lot of people as well. Like,
yeah,
it's a word of familiarity. It's context also means a lot, right? Localization to where you live.
yes,
You might not say "dude" to a person that you're trying to address in a professional or respectful manner. So I think it's a lot of context, right? Like, I'll call a lot of my best friends dudes. What up, dude? How's it going? Like, things like that, because you're not because that's not a direct point of like I'm misgendering you, right? It's I'm addressing you. It's almost like saying, "Hey, friend,"
yeah.
right? But that localization
The
or
word has
context
evolved.
may change depending on where you are. So I think it's understanding who you're with, the context of the conversation, understanding their feelings about certain things, and just being able to have those conversations, and also being able to understand and take humility and have humility in things that that you may want or need to address, right? Like, if I misgender someone and they correct me, I'm like, I apologize. Address and change accordingly with my language and move forward, right? It's not something that you would harp on. You wouldn't apologize 60 million times for, because you want that person wants to feel normal too, right? You don't want to harp on
Yeah,
it for the entirety of the conversation. It's acknowledge, understanding context, and then adjusting language and moving forward. Because at the end of the day, what people want is normalcy. People want to be equal and respected at the end of the day. No one's asking for special treatment.
And on the topic of, well, not on the topic of, with moving forward being mentioned,
yeah.
we are running low on time, so I'm going to wrap it up there.
For sure.
Thanks so much for being on, Sai. Is there anyone you'd like to see on the podcast, or if we asked you to be on again, is there anyone you'd like to feature with?
I mean, hey, listen, anyone my what I love about podcasts and having these kind of conversations are giving a voice to people that may not always have that reach. So, in the vein of that, I think it's important to maybe have a conversation where you can have, maybe my idea I can maybe offer is have a spring form, or one of those websites where you can submit anonymous names or voting, right? Where you can have a public space where your community, our community, can ask, who do you want to see? Whose voice do you want to be heard? Do you want to have heard? And let's uplift those voices, because um, my voice is going to reach as far as it's going to, and I want to have other people have that chance as well. Um, so I don't have a specific shout out, but I think it would be cool to see um, people with maybe a smaller platform than mine, that has as big of voices or want to make their voices bigger. I think a great person I would love to see on a podcast, if I'm going to have to name drop someone, Roads of Silence is a really awesome content creator that pushes for inclusivity. I'll shout him out in my channel right now. RHODES of Silence. Um, he's on Twitch and on Twitter and on YouTube. Um, he puts out constant work, whether it's YouTube videos, gun reviews in Destiny, special highlights with him doing variety games. He brings his family in on stream. He is a community driven person that strives for diversity, and constantly is uplifting other people's voices before his own. And I think he deserves a platform to get his message out there.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Uh,
as Kit said, I'll echo. Thank you very much for coming on, Si. Appreciate it. Um,
Of course, guys. Thank you for having me.
we were glad, like, when you wanted to be on, we could make it work where we could be on a Tuesday. As we said earlier, normally we would cover the TWAB as well, so we'd have a bit more like talk about, but I think we've sort of filled the time anyway. As Kit said, we're running a little low.
That's totally fine. I'm looking forward to the your guys' review of the TWAB in the following week, and
Yeah.
the content that Destiny's going to bring. I think we're in a really good spot to see new and interesting things happen for Destiny and the Twitch community.
So yeah. So for anybody who is watching this as a VOD on my channel or on my YouTube, Sai's link to his Twitch will be in the description. The Adrift.
You guys can catch me. Yeah,
the
you guys can
Adrift
catch me
Discord is
anywhere
in
at
your chat, right? As a
Yep,
command.
you guys can catch me. You guys can catch me anywhere. It's my socials are all /Psy_board. SIGH_BORED. Adrift, ADRIFT. You can find us on Twitter, Adrift Clan. You can search us anywhere on any of our socials to find our Discord link. Come in, say hi. We always do community nights, whether it's just gaming, clicking heads late into the night, having these kind of conversations on stream. Outside of podcasts as well. It's something that we always actively do. Couple of little other plugs. Adrift is getting a full rebrand soon, so be on the lookout from that. We're collaborating with
Nice.
Toasty. Yeah, feel free to come by the stream and say hi. I'm going to be streaming typically 8 p.m. to late Eastern. So right now we just hit about 7 o'clock on the hour, and right after this, I'm going to just grab dinner downstairs and come back up for the late night stream.
I think that's. I was literally about to say, yeah, plug everything. You got anything going on? Like, just like plug it. So you beat me to it. But yeah, and like
Cool.
I said, anyone who's watching this video, the link will be in the description to Sai's channel. Go and like check him out. As I said, use the Discord command in his chat. Even if he's not live, join like the Adrift Discord. There's amazing people in there. I'm in there, so and so I see like them all talking amongst themselves. I don't really talk much in Discords other than like certain one, which I need to get better at. But
It's all about a part of community building, right?
yeah,
It's us
exactly.
reaching out and stitching together those places where maybe the strike didn't give us the full patrol zone, right? It's us paving the patrol zone for the entirety of the Twitch community. So I appreciate you
It's a
guys
good
for
way to
having
look.
me on, and I look forward to your guys' next one.
But thank you very much.
Awesome, guys.
And yeah, anybody who's here live, by the way, we are gonna just raid Sai, so you'll get to check him out anyway.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys so much.
So yeah,
I'll catch you guys on the next one.
thank you very much, Sai. See you later.
Later, guys.
But yeah, if anybody is here live and is sub to the channel, you can hit Sai with the charge or love beam emote. If I can actually, click it. If you're not sub to the channel, then just hit him with the generic raid emotes from Twitch, which are these right here. But appreciate it very much. And if anybody is watching on YouTube, we've already, Sai's already done his thing, and he's gone to obviously go back to the stream. We appreciate you watching. Sure Kit does as well.
Yeah. We'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you in the next one. Peace.